Yo, what's up, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject, the lockdown, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 real pandemic. And in this video specifically, I want to talk about lockdown and why I honestly think, and this is not me just being defeatist, I mean, I guess it kind of is, but how I think the lockdown is never going to end. I really honestly do not see this ever ending and going back to normal. And it hurts me to say that because I don't like this fake bullshit that's going on right now. It's inconvenient and it's stupid. I actually feel oppressed. How strange is that? Like, I feel like I'm oppressed, you know? How dumb is that, right? Oh yeah, all I have to do is like wear a mask, fine. But still, it's like it's not. It goes against what I believe, and it's like, why should I have to do that, you know? Whereas I guess all the other like quote unquote forms of oppression of daily civilization, I guess I've just gotten used to. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I hate this lockdown shit. I hate that you have to wear a mask everywhere. I hate this social distancing, which is total pseudoscience. But let's talk a little bit about why I believe this is going to be permanent. Like, to some degree, it's going to be permanent. Number one, the rationale is that the coronavirus started from like one guy in China, right? Patient zero, I think they called it. Like, the joke in the beginning was that this guy ate a bat or something and he got the coronavirus and he spread it to all these people in China and they all died. And then some of them came to the United States and blah, blah, blah. You know, now, like, for some reason, only in the United States, this shit's going crazy, but like every other country, everything's fine. Sure. Anyway, that's the narrative that's being pushed, right? So the idea, if this, like, here's what I'm wondering. If this started from one guy, right, then that means that, like, let's say everybody does everything perfectly for the lockdown. Let's pretend that if you wear a mask, this is a thought experiment. Let's say that if you wear a mask, it's impossible to get coronavirus from anybody else. Let's just say it's impossible, right? Let's say everybody wears a mask, and if you practice social distancing, it's also impossible. Like, there's no way the coronavirus is like gonna ever spread to anybody if you wear a mask and you do social distancing. Let's just say that. And let's say everybody stays on lockdown for fucking 6 months or 3 months or a year or whatever it is. This means, right, that if there's one person who has the coronavirus at the end of this period, then they can reinfect the entire world, right? Am I wrong here? Only 10 million there's only 10 million confirmed cases, or 11 million at the time that I'm recording this on July 2nd, right? There's only 10 million. And there's 7 billion people in the world, almost 8 billion people. That's like, I don't know, I can't do math right now, but like, I don't know, less than 1% for sure. Point something 1%. Like, I don't know, somebody help me out. That's 0.01%. I don't know, I'm just throwing out random numbers. But anyway, it's not a large fraction of the population. So that means if there's one person that can infect the entire world, and oh, guess what, we have to go on lockdown again, and oh, please help us, Fauci and fucking Bill Gates and all this shit, right? So like, how can you ever justify, right, if you actually believe that, how can you ever justify opening up again, right? How is that possible? That's number one. Number two, the what I believe is really going on is that you have, like, you I don't know if you there's one group of people that wants the lockdown to continue, I guess. And it seems like this one group is made up of multiple parts, right? The one group is Amazon, and I guess like Democrats, I guess is the best way of explaining it, and the media, right? And they're not all, I guess, like Democrats and the media, that's kind of one part, and Amazon is just kind of like benefiting from this on the side. But Amazon, or Jeff Bezos, also owns the Washington Post and a bunch of other media outlets. So they're all kind of, it's like the media is here, Amazon is here, and the Democrats are here, right? The Democrats and Amazon, as far as I know, are not connected, but they're both connected to the media. So here's my theory, total tinfoil hat right here going on. But my theory is this, right? If there's lockdown, right? Because what's unique during this lockdown? Number one, everybody's getting $600 a week federal unemployment. Come on, that's like, that's hard. It's hard to get a job that will pay you $600 a week for your average American fucking retard. Hard to get a job that pays that. So everybody's getting free money right now. I work in the mall. I see it. You know, 6 out of 10 of my sales are with the fucking government free money card. So, you know, good for me, I guess, right? People have money to go shopping. But the point is that as long as the lockdown continues, everybody's going to keep getting their free money, right? So what does this have to do with Democrats? Well, the real, like, I'm simplifying, of course, but the difference between Democrat and Republican, at least in the United States, and this is oversimplifying, but Republicans essentially believe that everybody is in control of their own destiny. And if you want to be a businessman, if you want to make $1 million, you have the power to go and do that on your own, right? You have the control, you can do that. And it's up to you and your individual choices as a human being to overcome whatever obstacles you have in order to make that happen. Which, fun little side note here, which is why, they did a study that found that, like, if you work out regularly, you're more likely to be politically conservative or Republican, I guess, is what they say in the United States. Because those two ideals kind of line up, which is that if you exercise, you understand that, like, the type of body you have is dependent on the amount of work that you put in. Similarly to how if you have a lot of money, one could make the argument, if you have a lot of money, it's because you work for that money, right? Even if you were given $1 million, right? Look at all these people in the United States now who are given fucking $2,500 extra a month. Are they making anything out of themselves? Oh no, but they have to pay their rent and blah, blah, blah. Come on, they're doing just fine. Anyway, that's the difference between Republicans, so Republicans, they believe that it's really up to you, whereas Democrats believe that, oh, there's all these like societal pressures and all this institutional racism, and like if you're born in the hood, there's no way that you can ever like become successful because there's all of these external forces forcing you to do hood things and be a criminal. I'm simplifying, but like you get the idea, right? And to be fair, they're both correct, right? There are for one perfect example is that in low income neighborhoods you have a lot of fast food and you don't have a lot of grocery stores, right? So like Beverly Hills, for example, there are no fast food restaurants. There are none, or like one or something, because they're not allowed to have fast food restaurants in Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills in California, obviously a very high income neighborhood. But if you live where I live, 10 minutes from the Strip in Las Vegas, there's a fucking fast food place on every block. This is a low income area. So like the idea is like, okay, it's not that poor people who live in this neighborhood are like choosing unhealthy choices and they're fat and unhealthy. It's just that there's so many more fast food places here. It's so much easier for them to do it. It's so much more accessible that this is kind of like built into the system to oppress them, let's say. Another thing is that if you're going to take a bus, taking public transportation, you're only allowed, this is in California, you're only allowed to take 2 grocery bags onto the bus. That's technically the law. Like, is that really enforced by fucking bus drivers? Probably not, but that's technically the law. So one could make the argument that like, okay, you live in a low income neighborhood, you can't take the fucking bus and stock up on like 8 bags of groceries and take them back to your home. You're like pushed towards buying fast food, which is unhealthy and much easier to have a poor level of health from eating fast food. So like that, there are a lot of other things like that, right? If you're born in the hood, you're raised in the hood, it's hard to break out of that. It's not easy, but it doesn't mean it's impossible, right? Which is the whole thing that Republicans say, which is that it's not impossible to achieve something in life, even if the chips are stacked against you, the odds are against you, right? So now, in terms of all of that, what does that have to do with the lockdown and the free government money? Well, if people are getting more free government money, they're more likely to align with Democrats, right? Because Democrats, and I know like the current administration is Republican and like that's, everybody's on board with the free money for now for the coronavirus, right? But one could make the argument that if the government is controlled by Democrats, there will be a lot more free money going on to lots of people, especially with this whole like George Floyd thing, defund the police, let's take the police budget and give it towards low-income neighborhoods and stuff like that. And again, like I said, in theory, I mean, I'm not a fan of defunding the police. I think that's a terrible idea, but giving more money to low-income neighborhoods, if the programs are proven and not just like a Band-Aid, putting like, what is it, like trying to empty water out of a boat with a hole in it? Why don't you just plug the hole, What is plugging the hole? Okay, that's, a discussion for another time. But what's the problem is that like, if you provide all of these social programs for people who don't have the internal motivation to actually change their life, they're just going to take advantage of the food stamps, for example, right? You provide food stamps to people, one could make the argument because it's very important that people have food to eat. You don't want them to not have food, then they commit crimes and it's like really bad. But if you give them food stamps, they have no incentive to change because they're like, well, why should I change? Why should I work? I get fucking food stamps from the government. So what's the difference, right? So you have to actually institute some sort of change or systemic. You have to teach these people how to change on their own. You can't give them a fish. You have to teach them to fish. But the problem, I would argue, and I think most Republicans would argue, is that most people don't want to learn how to fish. because why would you, right? You're either telling somebody, okay, you can either learn how to do all this complex stuff and put in effort and work really hard, and maybe you'll be really successful, or maybe you'll just be average, or I can just give you everything for free and you'll just be like a little bit below average, but at least you're 100% going to be below average. You know, you don't have to try really. So anyway, that's the point, is that the longer this lockdown goes, the better it is for Democrats, because the more that they can say like, oh, look how bad things are, it's Trump's fault, you know, we need to fix things, and while we're fixing things, it's going to take a long time. We're going to keep giving you lots of government money, and we're going to defund the police, and we're going to make racism non-existent, and blah blah blah. So that's their side, right? Now, why does Amazon have incentive to keep the lockdown going? Well, Amazon is obviously the biggest, you know, are they the biggest company in the world? I don't know, maybe, probably. I don't know, but they're definitely up there. And they've experienced extremely rapid growth in the past 3 months since this lockdown, right? Everybody's buying shit on Amazon. You know, stores are closed, people can't go to the store, people are buying stuff on Amazon. And, you know, to be fair, Amazon is not only buying shit online. Most of the money that Amazon makes is made from AWS, Amazon Web Services, which is their like cloud computing suite that they provide for enterprise level businesses, and I guess anybody really who wants to take advantage of all of these like software tools and cloud computing services and, you know, complicated softwares that Amazon offers on like a pay-as-you-go feature, right? So what's the idea is that if this lockdown continues, more people will continue working online. And if more people continue working online, more of them are going to need cloud fucking service, right? More of them are going to need online storage. More of them are going to need all of the things that Amazon provides, in addition to all of the retail services that Amazon provides, right? And then you have the media, right, which is kind of connected in between both of them. So, like I said, Amazon, or Jeff Bezos, controls the Washington Post, and he also controls other media outlets. I'm not really sure which ones, but I know there's a couple more. Maybe the Sun. I'm not really sure. I might have to double check that. I mean, I know he owns Washington Post for sure. I'm not sure which other ones he owns, but I know there's no way he only owns the Washington Post and like that's the only one. He stopped there. Of course not, right? Amazon does one thing, they're gonna go fucking all out and choke out all the other competition, right? They do a very good job of hiding that, and we all love Amazon. I love Amazon. Amazon Prime, are you kidding me? It's amazing. It's incredible. But like, you know, let us go back into the world and do stuff, please, Jeff. Like, I appreciate it. So anyway, the media is kind of feeding both of these, right? And it's a win-win-win situation for all of them. There's no real downside. I mean, you know, no major downside, no immediately apparent downside to all three of these sides for keeping the lockdown going as long as possible. You know, the Democrats will get more votes, right? The more stressed out that people are about the coronavirus, the more fucking time people are going to have to protest about this, like similar things like George Floyd, right? Which is a tragedy, of course, but like if it happens again, guess what? People aren't at work. People aren't fucking doing anything. You know, why did this happen with George Floyd and it didn't happen with, you know, the other 15 people that it happened with in the past 2 years or whatever? Because nobody's at fucking work. Nobody's working. Everyone's got time, right? Not that like a lot of these people have jobs anyway, but still, now they definitely don't have a job. Now they have nothing else to do except go out and protest. You know, if you want to protest, go ahead, do your thing. Like, respect that. It's your right as an American. But if you have a job, you're less likely to go and do the protest, right? So the more the lockdown continues, the more the media can fan the flames of literally anything that happens. And they're trying, believe me. They fucking wake up every single day and they're like, okay, how can we, you know, make people fucking go berserk and like do some crazy shit now? And then, like I said, the Democrats, you know, they benefit from there. And Amazon, of course, like if the world stayed locked down forever, Amazon would, you know, their stock's gonna keep going up. You know, people are so dependent on Amazon now as it is. There's no major competitors, and this is also the problem with Google and Apple and Facebook, which is that anytime you get like a scrappy young startup that starts to, you know, develop a technology, let's say, that threatens one of the areas that Amazon or Apple or Google or whatever is dominant in, those big companies will just buy the startup. They'll just buy them. You know, they don't need to fucking squeeze them out or anything like that. They'll just give them fucking $100 million, be like, give us your technology, and either integrate it or dismantle it completely. So it kind of sucks, but like when are things going to go back to normal, right? And the only way that I see things going back to normal is if there is some sort of like prohibition style doing things behind the scenes, so to speak, right? Like this reminds me a lot of prohibition, this period, right? where alcohol was illegal in the United States, and if you want to drink alcohol, you had to like go to a speakeasy, which is this like shady bar that, you know, private invitation only, I guess, or only certain people knew about it. And you go and you drink and you party and you have your fun, and like you don't tell the authorities because it's technically illegal, right? So I see the return of the speakeasy and similar things, like basically what it's not that you can't drink alcohol, and it's not that like bars are shut down 100% and you can't go, although in some states there are, but it's that like it's this middle ground of like, okay, you can go to a restaurant but 50% capacity, you have to wear a mask, and you have to sit fucking 8 feet apart from everybody, right? So what I see, what I'm thinking will actually happen, hoping will happen, actually, maybe possibly even going to facilitate happening in this current city that I live in, is the return of speakeasies, right? Not necessarily a business, because I think businesses these days are unlikely to risk the social pressure of like opening their bar and like, oh my God, you opened your bar and you killed 5 million people as a result. But for example, house parties, maybe beach parties, barbecues, things like that, that are not necessarily like publicly advertised, but just generated as a result of like word of mouth, friends of friends, maybe some industry events and stuff like that. So I'm thinking slash hoping that once enough of those things get going, because we pretty much have everything else, right? Stores are open, restaurants are kind of open, grocery stores are open, kind of, the malls are now opening. I don't know, my mall is fucking packed all the time. Everything is kind of opening. I just read that United and I think American Airlines, they're not doing social distancing anymore, so they're booking flights fully. And I believe that many other countries, I know that many other countries are open pretty much back to normal. And I think that the United States is like the final domino, right? When it falls, everyone else is going to fall in line. Most of them that kind of like think for themselves are like, all right, fuck the US, like we're just going to do whatever we want. But I believe that, and I could be totally wrong, but I really do believe that once we get a normal like social life going again, people are going to see and understand and realize that this is a complete joke, and they're going to want to go back to normal. And fuck Amazon, and fuck the Democrats, and fuck the media also. Sorry, I hate being a fucking, does that make me like, what do they say? Like, am I a far right agitator? You know, am I like, what do they call the fucking, you know, the neo Nazis? Like, is that me now? I'm because I said that. Okay, cool. I'm a neo Nazi. I love it. Great, wonderful. Go get my fucking swastika tattoo right now. Okay, so what do you guys think about that? I know it's long. I know it's a little bit convoluted, this concept, but I think it's pretty on point. Is it coordinated? I don't know. It's definitely possible. Let me know what you think about that. Leave me a comment. Peace.